So now Parshat Lecha in our Chumash class continues, page 54. We've done 4 psukim. So today we'll embark on actually only 3 psukim. I'm sorry, 3 psukim we've done only. We're up to pasuk,
so well.
but we've done them well. I mean, I hope again for those just joining us or whatnot, or if you don't remember from last week, our goal is to sacrifice breadth in the service of depth. And hopefully along the way, not only be picking up more understanding, but also more skills. In terms of when we look at portions of the Chumash, to be able to see the multiple layers and different ideas about how the Parshanei HaMikra themselves saw things and understood things. And today I want to move ahead a little bit with the storyline. We're obviously all familiar with it, and to try to unpack some other layers. So, Pasuk Aleph, Bet, and Gimel was about the mission and the bracha associated with it. Now Pasuk Daled, page 54. Vayelech Avram kasher diber elav Hashem, Vayelech ito Lot, ve'Avram ben 5 shanim ve'shivim shana b'tzeito mecharan.
Okay, the obvious
Go.
thing is, why are we dealing with Lot? God didn't say anything about him. Now, it's possible that God said more than what is recorded here,
Possible.
and that's in there.
Always
or
possible.
Otherwise, why is he bringing Lot along?
Right. Or is he bringing Lot?
Or is Lot just... Well,
Or is Lot hanging on?
Oh,
Not the same thing.
right.
It says Lot went with him.
Coming.
Sounds like he's kind of coming with him. Sounds like it.
To Avram, too nice to tell him sorry?
I don't know. We also learn in the same pasuk, and you have to look at the grouping of the pasuk, that how old is Avram's age is being told to us as he is going. As he's leaving Haran, we learn that he is 75 years old.
Has he adopted, since Lot is his nephew, has he adopted him? Why doesn't Lot stay with Terach and Haran and the other brother, Nahor?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he didn't have to go with
Avraham
with
necessarily.
Avraham. Yeah.
Right. Now, this pasuk really makes it sound as if, and we could, maybe it's, what's the word, putting too much into it, but I'll show you why I think this might be the case in a moment. You could say that Avram Avinu received the commandment from Hashem, and you could say that maybe there was a stirring in the heart of Lot.
Oh.
And he decided of his own volition, I want to go with this man. Now, Lot has some connections to Avraham Avinu, familially. He's his nephew. So wait one second. Yeah, Sarah's brother, possibly, by the way, a half brother, but a brother, sharing, right?
Would it be a half brother? If she's, that's based on her being Yiska.
Yeah, right.
It would be a half. Oh, because they never mention the mothers.
Right. So it could be they share a father, not a mother. But here's the thing: it's not just that there's a familial relation that you're pointing out. That Lot is basically Sari Imenu's brother, in which case he's not just a nephew, but he's the brother-in-law. But something, right? Avraham has a brother named Haran, and Haran's son is Lot. And it says in the Torah in Parshat Noach on the bottom of page 50 that Avraham and Nahor both got married. Sarai is the wife of Avraham, right? And it mentions that Milcah is the daughter of Haran, and Haran is the father of Milcah and Yiska. And we have a midrashic tradition that Sarah, Imenu's other name, was Yiska. We learned this already in session 1, right? People had multiple names. By the way, you have multiple names, because when you go to the store, you're referred to as Mr. or Ms. or Mrs. so-and-so. But it's not really your name. Your name is your proper name, your personal name. If you happen to work as, a doctor or a rabbi or whatever it is, or an attorney, you'll be called sometimes by the title. If you're a judge, whatever depending on what you do, you have different titles, different names, right? This is more common in other cultures, also in terms of people's name. This is common in Russian culture, right? Then the name, and then the son of so-and-so, right? So there'll be, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, when you read
Something
those
Ovich,
Russian
they'll
novels,
add.
you can't
Right.
figure out
Right,
who
exactly.
they're talking about.
So these are common things, right? and lahavdil in certain organizations, people get a name, right? They get like a special nickname, a call name, whatever it is. Whether that's an organization like an army, people have a rank or a nickname or something like that.
In a family too.
Whether it's the family, right? Exactly. Okay. So that's the Medrash says. Oh, by the way, Sarah Yemena's other name was Yiska. Sarai and Yiska are actually changed to Sarah. So her brother is Lot. Back to Lot. So it's true he's Avram Avinu's nephew, but he has another relationship to Avram Avinu that is not a familial relationship, but a shared legacy with Avraham Avinu. Again, drawing from the Medrash. Lot's father is the first martyr, you could say, to belief in one God that we have a record of, who actually didn't make it out of the fiery furnace. Avram Avinu goes in the fiery furnace, he comes out. Haran goes in the fiery furnace, he doesn't make it out. There's a fusion, in a way, from the perspective of the life's experience of Lot, whose father Nebuch was killed, and his uncle Avraham, who's a survivor. And naturally, Lot and Avraham have a connection, a bond, right? Now, if you look at page 52, just to flip back for 1 minute, it actually mentions that Terach took Avraham his son and Lot his grandson.
Oh.
Yeah?
To Nimrod?
No. To with him, not to Nimrod, but to Haran. When they left Ur Kasdim, they go to Haran, right? So in other words, he's mentioned already as being singled out, right? Now he doesn't have a father, so the grandfather takes over. That's how the clan works. But here in our parsha, page 54, verse 4, it sounds like Vayelchi Lot means Lot decided, you know what? I'm gonna go with my uncle, who again may or may not be also my brother-in-law. Certainly the pshat is it's his uncle, that's for sure. But there's, again, based on the Medrash, the idea that Yiska was the other title for Sarah Imenu. So if she's really, Yiska is the daughter of Haran, and Lot is the son of Haran, so somehow Sarah and Lot are sister and brother, right? So there are those, the Chizkuni and others, who say Lot was a Ben Bayit in the house of Avram Avinu. And in fact, he believed as Avram Avinu believed. The Radak writes here on this pasuk that Lot agreed with his uncle. He was a believer in one God. And by the by, unlike Avram Avinu, who survived, his faith saved him, Haran, again, whatever you'll say about his faith, what he was really thinking and not thinking, the facts are that in Lot's mind, his father heroically was willing to go into the fire furnace after Avram Avinu, and we're left with the big question, how come Haran wasn't saved? But Lot goes with his uncle because he feels a stirring in his heart. There's something here. Yeah?
Well, Rabbi, after being thrown in a furnace, making it out, and the father doesn't make it out, wouldn't you think he's really special, Avram?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
He must be in shock.
Yeah, but my point was, doesn't Lot have big questions about the Ribono Shalom? Why did my father survive? He doesn't know the answer. He doesn't know the answer. Now, there are other approaches here that that really. Let me say that the Abarbanel, others say that really no, as was mentioned here. Lot's kind of a hanger-on. Avram would prefer that he not join him, but he didn't say anything. He came along. You could see it any way. It's open. It doesn't. There's no authoritative approach. In fact, in Breisheet Rabbah, the Chachamim, the sages in the Medrash, disagree about whether the fact that Lot went with Avraham was that desirable by Avram Avinu. Rabbi Yehuda says it was desirable. Rabbi Nechemiah says Hashem was unhappy, so to speak, that Lot went along with Avram Avinu. Okay, why? Because we know the rest of the story. We know it's going to be a very complicated relationship with lowlights and highlights, mostly lowlights, but there are some highlights as well. Yeah.
But the next sentence is going to say, and they also took, besides the wealth, which is mentioned first, the souls they made in Haran. So those would be the the people that they did successfully
One of the
give the
opinions,
idea
one of the approaches.
one,
One of the approaches.
well, certainly Lot, if he can't, would fall into that category. Otherwise, he would have stayed in.
Perhaps, but he's listed separately. He's got his own placement, right? But yes, you're right. But he's got his own placement. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if he didn't, he had a grandfather and an uncle to stay with in Haran, and they'd all made some money, and it was obviously a lot easier to stay in Haran than it was to go out in this, where they didn't even know where they were going,
Right. Right. Agreed.
unless he wanted the money.
Lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because money in the sense of being Abraham's heir. Abraham is 75.
Right.
doesn't have a kid.
Is Avram's heir.
Yeah.
Now, what you're telling me now, you know and I know because we've read ahead. But imagine you're reading this for the first time.
That's the whole case.
So, wow, that's beautiful. Lot goes with his uncle because he cares, right? Because he wants to grow in his ruchnius and connect to Hashem. Now, hold your finger, page 54, and turn to page 60. Now, we all know the story, so I'll hit the fast forward button to remind you what happens. Avram and Sarah and Lot are going to go down to Mitzrayim. They're going to come back with a lot of wealth, and Lot's shepherds and Avram's shepherds are going to get into a dispute. And Avram Avinu will suggest to Lot, let's separate, and we'll go our separate ways, right? Remember? Remember? They get into this tussle, which, as far as Chazal are concerned, is a tussle about morality. Lot's shepherds say, we heard that Avram Avinu was promised the land, and he has no heir. So Lot's going to be the heir. And Avram's shepherd is saying, yeah, but it's not yet. So that's stealing now to take it from people if we haven't received it yet. And the language, at least that Chazal have, about Avram Avinu in the mouths of the shepherds of Lot is derisive. The mule has no offspring, but his offspring, therefore, will be the spiritual offspring, meaning me, or rather our boss, Lot. That comes out in a later story. And the question about later stories is, okay, was this already how it was from the beginning? He never had a sincere bone in his body. He was coming along for the loot. Lot comes for loot. or I'll declare Lot el loot. Yeah, I would have made that up. But alternatively, maybe there was some sincere aspect of Lot that further along went either off the rails because he was blinded by his wealth. Maybe something else happened. Look at page 60, Pasuk Yud Dalet. Vashem Amar El Avram Acharehi Pared Lot Meimo Sana Einecho Rei Min Hamakom Asher At Hasham Tzafona V'Negva V'Kevim V'Yama Ki Et Kol Ha'aretz Asher Ata Ro'eh Lecha Etnena U'Lezarcha Ad Olam. What do we learn? Here is the beginning of another revelation by God to Avram Avinu, promising him the land. Look out this way and that way and this way, and everything you see, and I give you the children, and your children will be like the sand of the sea. Now, that goes on further. But look at verse 14. What is the beginning, the preamble to Hashem talking to Avram Avinu? God said to Avram, really, after Lot had left him, after they split, after they separated. Look at Rashi, Pasuk Yodalit on this page. Kol zman sheharasha imo, hayadibur poresh mimenu. As long as the wicked one was with him, was with Avram Avinu, Lot's called the wicked one here, the speech, meaning from Hashem, was separated from Avram. But when Avram separated from Lot, now Hashem would speak to Avram Avinu directly again. And then in the square brackets, because it's a quote from the Medrash, which does not appear in all of the manuscripts of Rashi, but it is in the Medrash, Lefisha Amar Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lech Lecha V'lo Im Lot. Because God told him, Lech Lecha, you go, and not with Lot. And the fact that Lot is coming with you is a liability. Question. Hold on one second. I got a first question about this. That's why I brought this up. If Rashi's saying this here, you're Rashi, why wouldn't you just put it in right here on the words Lech Lecha? Why are you waiting to tell it to me over here? Later on, after they separated, this tells us, by the way, about something that happened 2 pages earlier. Why do you think? This is a skills question. Just to think, why would Rashi withhold that piece of information and only reveal it to us later on in the story, as opposed to just telling us up front? It says Lech Lecha. You know what Lecha means? Not Lot. Lot showed up anyway. But Rashi didn't say it there. He left it for this part after Lot separated. What do you think, Debbie? What do you think?
Because the Torah is not a history book.
Good.
It's lessons in morality
Fine.
for us. So I think Rashi takes this later stance after the fact because it leads to a lot of thinking, which it should on our part. It all looks good in theory. There's a familial and all kinds of relationship here. And yet, even with all of that going,
There still was this other thing happening.
exactly. And of course, that's a big lesson for us.
Yeah. Beautiful.
We're missing one other thing
Please.
between between what you're saying on page 60 and that. When they go down to Egypt and the whole business with Sora and Paro,
Right.
where's Lot? This is her brother.
Right.
Even if she has a husband,
Right.
he seems to be very passive and he doesn't seem to care. And
Right.
then he benefits from it financially. Boy, this doesn't sound like a really nice guy before they even get back to Canaan.
But that story's going to happen after.
Right.
But it's a
No,
Swiss-
isn't that before?
It happens before page 60 over
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but it happens after they all leave Haran to go to Eretz Canaan.
Uh-huh.
But it's a schus for him because he didn't say anything.
It was a great schus for him. That's right. Chazal say,
So he
Lot
can't
stayed
be that
quiet.
evil.
He could have outed. He could have outed his brother-in-law or his uncle
Reb-
with the right.
Rabbi,
She said it's my sister.
but
Wasn't
no
his
matter
sister.
how evil we talk about, he gets rewarded. Look who comes from him with his two daughters. Mashiach will come from him.
Okay, that's already a
Yeah.
much later
Okay.
story. I
No,
don't
no,
wanna
no,
go
no,
there.
no. But I'm saying he can't be that bad.
Well,
Hashem proves himself.
could we say today Lot's complicated?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's
Absolutely.
complicated, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say about Lot, oh, he's complicated.
Yeah.
Right? Rashi, exactly as was just mentioned now, though. That's exactly these 2 points. Right? What Debbie said and what you're saying. The same, right? Debbie's saying, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but another way of saying what you said is, we shouldn't find out that information right away. We're going to learn that later.
Yes.
But we're along, you understand, as opposed to, these are a good contrast with Noach. What did Noach ever do that was so righteous? I don't know. I mean, before he built the Teva, that was righteous. He listened to Hashem. We don't know.
We don't know.
The opening line is, Noach matzah chen be'enei Hashem. Right? So there's no better approbation than that, except for the next psukim, which is, Noach ish tzaddik, he's a righteous man. Tamim haya b'dorosav, he's the most wholesome, perfect man in the whole generation. I mean, that's great. That's amazing. But we're not on the journey. And my point about Avram Avinu, and now about Lot, is with Avram Avinu and Lot, we're with them on the journey. We're like sitting next to them along for the ride. We are going to find out. Lot's complicated. We're going to find out he has some merits. He did something that was meritorious in Egypt by keeping his mouth shut. But you're saying it in the opposite way. Well, did he care? Well, was he involved? Like, he should have owed Avram, and yet they have this falling out, this story between the shepherds. But then we learn, Rashi tells us, oh, by the way, the truth is, it's debatable if Lot coming along was a good thing or a bad thing.
He's saying
And-
it's debatable.
Well, the Medrash is saying it's debatable. Rabbi Yehuda says it was a good idea. It was good. Rabbi Nechemiah in the Medrash, we're not seeing it inside, but the Medrash means the sages of the Mishnah, basically. Rabbi Yehuda says Hashem was happy, so to speak. It was good. Even though God said, Lech Lecha, it didn't mean go by yourself. It meant go for your benefit and represent me, right? And that was not a negative. Look at all the people that were going to get to that. All the people that were converted. Doesn't mean they had a bris and went in a mikvah for the men. There was no bris milah yet.
Yeah,
But do
right,
they have an
I was-
ideal? They have an ideal that they accept that there is one God in the world and that He is the source of all truth. That He is the power. He is morality. As it were, He defines what is moral in this world, etc. So all of that was positive. So on the face of it, the fact that Lot went along, it's a plausible reading of the Chumash that Breisheet to Lot. It was great. He came along because he felt something. And indeed, there are among the Rishonim those who say that. Rabbi Yehuda says Ritzuya. It was desired by Hashem. This is good. What are you going to do later when it says Achrei Pared Lot Meiro? Mo? So you'll say when he originally went, it was good, but later on, it was not so good. What is Rashi here, page 60 in chapter 13, quoting though? Now I should tell you that I go by the side of the Medrash that says that it really wasn't a good thing. But if I would have told it to you there, you wouldn't be able to see it yet.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why it's so important for us as we're studying this to not always look for such black and white.
Right. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, fine.
Gray.
Fine, yeah. I think it is.
We
It
do
is.
know the story so well that it's hard to read it for the first time.
Not for me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I know.
And you have that
Outcome
talent.
bias.
I'm with
Yes,
Shelley. I have the
told I
same
have
problem with
outcome
Shelley. I'm more of that
bias.
problem. You come with the bias, outcome bias, right? You know
Outcome
what's going to
bias.
happen, so it's
Yeah.
more, it's more challenging. Now,
Good for you.
the
Yeah,
pasuk
I
Daled,
know.
Avram went as Hashem told him, and Lot went with him. Lot's relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I gather maybe he davened, it's a human impulse to pray, but he didn't have a direct relationship with Hashem where Hashem spoke to him. His relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, in a way, through Avram Avinu. Okay? It'll be important coming up. But now, it also tells us how old Avram Avinu is when he left Haran. Fine. We'll leave that. Fine. You found out the age, but I won't go into it further for now. This is what to say about the age business as well,
I
but
think we have.
I'm skipping
sorry.
it. Yeah, please.
Even this not bringing the rest of the story that we know, even the ages. I think that if we superimpose our definition, whether young for King Shlomo or
Old
old
for
at
this one,
75, this was a totally different time period.
Fair enough.
I'm not even sure
Yeah,
the
fair enough.
ages.
Fair enough. I accept. The pasuk Hey, Vayikach Avram. Now you're going to read now the opposite. You're going to say, wait, is this contradicting what we said a moment ago about Lot? But I'm asking you to ask yourself that question. What's the new piece of information here about the same piece of information we just learned in pasuk Daled? You're going to hear it embedded now in pasuk Hey. Vayikach Avram et Sarai ishto ve'et Lot ben Achiv ve'et kol rechusham asher rechashu ve'et hanefesh asher asu b'charan vayetzu lalechet arza Canaan vayavo arza Canaan. So, you just read again about Lot. What's the difference now about Lot the second time? The same piece of information, and it doesn't mean that he took him 2 times. It's 1 time. They went from Haran, we'll say for our purposes now, they went from Haran to Eretz Canaan. So what's the new information here about Lot that we didn't have before? From Pasuk Daled and Pasuk Hey.
That Abraham definitely took him.
Yeah. Now we find out Avram took him, and in what capacity did Avram take him? And why did Avram take him?
As a family.
As a family.
Yeah.
As Ben Achiv.
Yeah.
Avram Avinu may not have physical children, but it doesn't stop him from taking care of children. Now, I'm not suggesting Lot is a baby. The point is, it was someone's kid. It was his brother's kid. I don't want to psychologize too much. I don't know what shikulim Avram Avinu had about that episode of the Kivshana Eish that he survived and his brother didn't survive. He's paying it forward to take care of his brother's son. But
we
maybe,
know at what age, does the Midrash ever say what age he was when he went in the fire? And when
No,
Abraham?
does
Okay.
not make it clear.
So we don't know if it's a kid or a young adult or.
Our assumption is that it's at some age where, as a son, he was somewhat still beholden to his father in the sense of that his father could forcibly take him to be in front of
And they can
Nimrod.
throw him.
Throw him, push him.
That doesn't necessarily mean
Right.
it says Terach is
I know.
the head of the clan.
I
in
know,
that day,
exactly. So I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
The inclinations is to say, well, he must have been a little boy because his father took him. It makes it sound as if it's like by the scruff of the neck. But those of us who live in families that are real families appreciate that the head of the clan, so to speak, can carry tremendous weight and force of personality. I don't mean in a pejorative manner. I'm just saying, what they say. This is the head of the family, so to speak, and certainly back then. So maybe he was a grown man, but his dad said, I'm having you arrested because you're no good. It doesn't have to mean literally he took him by the scruff of the neck. It doesn't say it that way. He brought him before Nimrod. Could be that he called the cops on him. So here Lot is being taken by Avram Avinu, and he's coming along as a family member. It's the same thing that happened, let's say for now, it's the same thing that happened, 1 episode, let's say, right? So it's 2 different perspectives. On one level, Lot's going for himself. He wants to tag along with Avram Avinu. On another level, Avram's doing the taking, and Lot is part of the family, and that's why he's coming along. It's really not clear. It's not told to us on purpose. So it's left open to us, Now, in addition, we learned that all of their rechush, whatever they have by way of whatever they have, they call it wealth. So they have something already, and they're going on this trip together. They're making this this journey, and whatever they could move. But it also tells us they don't have property, so they're all walking. And then we learned this idea about the nefesh, the souls that they made in Haran, which does not tell us exactly who these souls are, and we should be cognizant of the fact that there are two different approaches that Rashi gives us here in Pasuk Hey, and that one of them is much more well known to us than the other, but that Rashi himself is aware that he's telling us two ideas that are on two separate planes of understanding. It's not one is right, one is wrong. It's two different layers. So if you look with me at Rashi, Pasuk Hey, Asher asu b'Haran, the souls that they made in Haran, that they made, by the way, the plural. Shechnisum taret kanfei Ashchina, that he brought under the wings of the divine presence. Avraham megayer et ha'anashim, v'sar megayer et hanashim. Umale aleim hakatuv ki'ilu asaum. That's a quote from the Medrash, Breisheet Rabbah, and also from two places, and also the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin. That's the parentheses there, and the scripture accords it as if they were made, were fashioned in some way, made, constructed.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
The verb seems to be the same for how they got possessions and for how they made these people. Isn't it rechusham and rochashu et hanefesh? What does that mean?
No. Ved kol rechusham asher rachashu.
They're not the same.
Next, ved hanefesh asher asu b'charan. There's no rachash again.
Oh.
Asher asu b'charan. No.
But I mean, aren't they using the same verb
No.
for property and people?
Ved kol rechusham asher rachashu. All of their wealth that they had, a wealth that they had gotten.
I see.
Then,
I
and the souls that they made in Haran.
Okay.
So all of this, that's the first understanding of Rashi. But then, upshuto shel mikra. Look in Rashi. Everyone forgets the other half of this, right? The pshuto shel mikra is the literal rendering of what these words mean. Avadim ushvachot shekanu lahem. Kimo, as we learned, asai et kol hakaved hazeh, which made all of this ponderousness, but that means all of this honor in the sense of the staff, right? It's slaves and maidservants that they had acquired. Lashon, quotes, Lashon kinyan, in the manner of to have acquired something. Lasot, something to be to acquire, right? V'Yisrael osechayil. The Jewish people make wealth. Doesn't mean make, but rather lashon koneh v'kones. Means that they have acquired and gathered in. And maybe the level of pshat is the slaves and the maidservants that they bought. This is in our davening, by the way, every day. Yeah, gomel chasadim tovim v'konei hakol. V'konei hakol means God makes everything, but the act of making something is also the act of acquiring something. And the act of acquiring something is also the act of making something. Why? Because by acquiring it, you change its identity. It's one of your possessions. So now, at Anavshir Asu B'Charan, the pshat understanding is, and Rashi gives you, here's this example, here's this example, here's this example, the word la'asot can also mean to acquire. So all of the souls that they acquired in Haran means all of the slaves and maidservants that they had. Now this is a much cooler, to me at least, cooler reading than the beautiful, warm idea that it really means that they brought all these people under the sheltering wings of the divine presence, right? The expression, tachat kanfei Ashchina, right? It kind of leaves us cold. That's slaves and maidservants. But in that latter reading, doesn't the stock of Lot as a spiritual seeker suddenly go way, way up? Like Lot's interested and he's coming. Oh, I ain't gonna leave him behind. He's on this journey with us, so this is all we got. But in the other view, like there are thousands, according to the Rambam, there are thousands, tens of thousands of people who've been brought on side. They're all interested. So let's one more person. Yes, yes, no, no. In the end, he was a bad influence. It wasn't good. Yeah. So, question. Someone else had a question. Sorry, Helen, please.
In English, we use the word chattel for
Mhm.
a group of people
Yep.
associated.
Yep.
And then we have kinyan adayad, that that kind of
Acquisition of some way.
acquisition.
Yeah.
Va'isha niknes, her whole being is transferred in the idea of Va'isha niknes.
Uh-huh.
So she becomes something different
Right.
in that kinyan.
Beautiful. Nice. Well said. Well said. I'll come back to that when we one day get to Parshat Chayei Sarah, but we won't get there for a few years the rate we're going. It's like 3 psukim a time.
When they leave Ur Kasdim, it doesn't mention that they had this property or these people. So we're supposed to get from that this was acquired somehow in Haran. I'm not sure what to make of that.
Yeah. According to the Radak, by the way, again, back to Radak, Rav David Kimchi, all of their wealth that they had amassed refers to that Avraham and his business partner Lot had amassed, that they were in business together.
Okay.
And therefore they went to, they're going together because they're in business. Now, what is their business? It's a business that can move place to place. It's a mobile business. They're not stuck on a plot of land. It's cheap. Now, they're going to have way more after the trip to Egypt, way more. But whatever they have together. Well, now it makes a little more sense just in the level of pshat. Why do they come together? Oh, well, they're working together. There is one opinion which you may think is really far out there. Again, Radak, far out, but he said it, so I think I can say it here. Is that not only does this pasuk mean that Avraham took Sarai Ishto and Lot his nephew, but that Avraham and Sarah and Lot all together, they're in a business together. Namely, that's what the rechush. But that when it says the words, fasten your seatbelts, that the souls that they made in Haran, the people they brought under the sheltering wings of the divine presence, tachat kanfei Shechina, who did it? Avraham, Sarah, and Lot. Lot's the junior madrich in the group. Is the advisor in training, Lahavdil by NCSY.
And he attracts the younger people.
He's for the young, exactly. Because listen, nothing wrong with Avram Avinu and Sarah Imenu. They're pushing 80. And Lot is the younger nephew. Now they're in business together, according to the Radak. Not just business, but they also were together being machnis people. Now, according to the Radak's view at least, Lot is part of this unbelievable project that is the life's work of Avram Avinu. And his chief, not just devotee now, that he went together with Avraham, the pasuk before, but actually his Rebbe. And now he's doing the same thing. This will help us understand when we get to the story of the angels leaving the home of Avram Avinu and two of them keep on going to go to Lot's house, that we'll see the ways in which Lot does try, falls short, but he tries to emulate the house of Avram Avinu. We're going to see that specifically the Torah will give us important contrasts, very important contrasts of lessons learned, lessons that were not learned. But just imagine what that means. Avram, how's he going to get rid of Lot now? You don't get rid of him. They're together in this project. And that also explains why the shepherds of Lot and the shepherds of Avraham, they work for the same corporation. Yeah? The same company. They all work for this. There's two different divisions, the Avram division and the Lot division. So now if they're really, it's not just that Lot's thinking, I'm going to inherit him, and he communicated that to his people. It's that really that is what was going to happen. How could it not happen? They're business partners. And they deal with the spirituality together, do everything. But that's when eventually Avram and Lot are going to split. We'll have to explain then, okay, how come, what do you do with that Rashi? With Rashi saying that after Lot left, now Hashem appeared again to Avram Avinu. We'll come to it when we come to it, but we already previewed it because I want to show that piece about sometimes a piece of information is given to you later on purpose because you're not supposed to think about it. You can't, but you should not think about it as much as you can because take it on its own terms of what you're up to here. Yeah, and that's Rashi's genius, is helping us to organize when we learn the story, when some piece of information is deployed is significant as well. Here Rashi admits that there are two, I don't mean admits like concedes, but he admits means he admits to the structure and understanding, into the room to understand on one level, actually this is about spirituality and bring people closer and ruchnius and a Kadosh Baruch Hu and this is your Gerim, whatever that means, Megayer. There's Megayer, the Avram with the men and Sarah with the women, but on another level, this all they had was Lot. That's all they had. And on another level, maybe it's just that they're slaves and maidservants. They brought everyone along, and so.
Rabbi, we also can't lose the
time.
fact
2 minutes.
that even it's later, Avram risked his life to go save Lot.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
the bottom line.
That's
is
by the way, that's a very important part of this story, is the fact that Avinu was willing to put his life on the line to rescue Lot. And you see that whatever we're learning about, Hashem didn't really want them to be together. If we go with that line, okay, but still was his family. And even if they couldn't live together, it didn't mean he didn't care about him. Even if they lived at different, different places or whatnot.
Are we saying that there's something ominous that Lot is choosing to get this land? Are we getting sort of an alert that this is a bad choice that he's doing?
Of Lot being along with
Going
Avraham?
along and picking the best.
Oh, later on. That's later on when he chooses.
No, he's saying here that he left and picked the best land in the plain.
No, but that's later.
That's later. That's chapter 13, Perek Yud Gimel, after they come back from Egypt. We're still literally on Perek Yud Bet, Pasuk Hey. I mean, again, it's almost comical. Like we did more today than we did in any Shiur until now. We did two psukim. Pasuk Dalet, Pasuk. I wanted to show you so they compare and contrast the two of them. By the way, in Pasuk Dalet, it's B'tzeito meCharan, they left Haran, and in Pasuk Hey, Vayavo Artz Canaan, they arrive. Right? Yeah. So it's not entirely. It shouldn't be lost on us that the fact is that here they went in direction. They left Haran, and they actually arrived. They Vayavo Artz Canaan. They arrived in that place. Now, the Rishonim point out. Some of the Rishonim note that actually the words Lechem Artzchem Aradchem Ela Aretz Ashar Eka. He didn't tell them where to go. He just said, go to the land I'm going to show you. He didn't say Eretz Canaan. How did Avram Avinu know to go there? Some of the Rishonim say, well, he already knew. The Ramban, what?
Back to Terach.
Yeah, Terach was on the way, right?
Yes, and Terach, it would say that he went there because Terach was headed there, but he stopped in Haran and never went on to Canaan.
Right. So why was he on the way there? Why was he heading there? How did he know to go there? Was that right? So we'll have to come back to that already another time. Go back to Terach again. We talked about it a little bit, I think in session 2 or whatever, it was 1 or 2. But here, the Ramban says that Avinu was just going off into the unknown. And it's only when he got to Eretz Canaan that Hashem told him, you've arrived. And that's Vayavo Eretz Canaan, Vayavo Artz Canaan. According to the Ramban, Avram doesn't know that that's where he's commanded to go. He went to Eretz Canaan. Why? Because that was the plan originally when they left Ur Kasdim between Terach and Avram were going in that direction. So he kept going. When he got there, so then Hashem appeared to him, and he told him, we'll see that the next time we learn, right? That's what Hashem told him. Next, right? When they got, you've arrived. Oh, we didn't realize that we'd arrived. Oh, we're here. Other Rishonim disagree. They say, no, he knew that this is the place he had to go to, right? The Gemara specifically says, Avira di Yisrael Machkim, the Gemara Bava Batra, the land of Israel itself makes one wise. It is filled with wisdom, if you will. It's something in the quality of the air. And it was known that that's the place where a person could connect to the divine flow from Hashem. And therefore, he went there. So says the Abarbanel. So says the Ralbag. He knew, I'm going to that place. It's a special place. Which one is correct? I'll leave that for your consideration. Adkan for today. That's all we have time for. We want to go to the next Shiur, but we'll learn again, God willing, next week. And then we'll go on hiatus for a bit for